Commander Zextal stood at the panoramic viewport of the Eternal Dawn's bridge, four-fingered hands clasped behind their back. The massive warship's crystalline windows filtered the harsh glare of Earth's sun, casting prismatic patterns across the polished obsidian floor. At first glance, the target planet seemed unremarkable, another blue-green marble spinning through space, waiting to be added to the hegemony's collection. "Status report," Zextal commanded, their voice carrying the metallic resonance characteristic of their species. The bridge crew's appendages flew across holographic interfaces, gathering data with practiced efficiency. "Preliminary scans complete, Commander," First Officer Venra responded, their silver scales shifting with subtle iridescence. "The species calls themselves humans. They've achieved basic spaceflight, but haven't established unified planetary governance. Multiple nation-states, ongoing regional disputes, technological development is inconsistent." Zextal nodded, standard procedure for pre-conquest evaluation. Then something caught their attention on one of the data streams, a curious anomaly in the cultural broadcasts they were intercepting. "Magnify that feed," they ordered, pointing to a particular holographic window. The image expanded, showing what appeared to be a small human dwelling. Inside, an elderly human was holding a tiny creature, gently stroking its fur while it made a rhythmic vibrating sound. "What is this behavior?" Zextal asked, fascination creeping into their normally stern voice. "They call it a cat, Commander," explained Science Officer Kirix, consulting their records. "Humans keep various species as pets, companions with no practical purpose beyond emotional attachment." No practical purpose. Zextal's head crest flared with interest. In their 1,000 cycles of service, they'd never encountered such a concept. "Expand the cultural sampling. Show me more." The holographic displays filled with streams of human activity. A group of humans scaling an ice-covered mountain peak, not for resources, but simply to reach the top. Others diving into ocean depths to study marine life. Children in a classroom watching with wonder as a butterfly emerged from its chrysalis. "Most peculiar," Zextal murmured. "They expend considerable energy on activities that offer no strategic advantage." "There's more, Commander," Venra interjected. "Their information networks contain millions of hours of entertainment, stories they've created about fictional encounters with alien species." Zextal watched as scenes from human movies played across the screens. Some depicted peaceful first contact, others showed humanity bravely defending their world. "They've been imagining us," they realized aloud. "Before we even arrived, they've been preparing, not just technologically, but mentally." A new transmission caught their attention. Humans in a large structure, moving in synchronized patterns while sound waves created what they called music filled the air. The dancers' movements seemed to defy practical purpose, yet every human watching was displaying signs of emotional elevation. "Commander," Kirix spoke up hesitantly, "standard protocol for their level of development calls for immediate subjugation. Shall I prepare the invasion timeline?" Zextal raised a hand, their usual decisiveness wavering. "Hold that order." They stepped closer to the viewport, studying the blue planet with new eyes. "There's something here we're missing. These humans, they're different." "Different how, Commander?" Venra asked. "Look at this." Zextal gestured to another feed, showing human scientists freely sharing their discoveries across borders, each adding their own cultural perspective to the knowledge. They compete and cooperate simultaneously. They create art about their scientific achievements. They imagine possibilities before they can achieve them. The bridge fell silent as the crew watched their commander, known throughout the fleet for swift, decisive action, stand in quiet contemplation of this seemingly unremarkable world. "We need more data," Zextal finally declared. "Before we make any moves, I want to understand why they dance among the stars even as they reach for them. Monitor all frequencies, gather every transmission. Something tells me we're about to discover something unprecedented." As the crew hurried to comply, Zextal continued watching the streams of human life, their head crest rippling with colors of deep thought. In all their years of conquest, they'd never encountered a species that kept animals for love, climbed mountains for joy, or created art about the very stars they were reaching for. Perhaps this mission would be different from all the others, in ways they couldn't yet imagine. "Commander, you need to see this." Zextal turned from their contemplation of Earth to find Science Officer Kurix practically vibrating with excitement, their scales shimmering in rapid patterns that indicated intense scientific curiosity. The officer manipulated their holographic controls, bringing up a new set of data streams. "We've been analyzing their global information network, what they call the Internet, and we found something remarkable. Humans don't just share scientific knowledge. They actively seek out different viewpoints to solve problems." The main display filled with examples. A teenage girl in Kenya developing a solar water purification system, collaborating online with engineers in Japan and Brazil. A retired mechanic in New Zealand sharing improvements to electric motor designs with university researchers in Canada. Citizen scientists around the world contributing to astronomical discoveries through shared telescope data. "They call it open source," Kurix explained. "Many of their greatest innovations come not from centralized research facilities, but from individuals building upon each other's ideas freely." Zextal's head crest rippled with deep purple hues of astonishment. In the hegemony, such uncontrolled sharing of information would be unthinkable. "Show me more." The displays shifted to various human activities. In one feed, humans were deliberately exposing themselves to controlled danger in what they called extreme sports. In another, they were deliberately seeking out spicy foods that caused mild pain for pleasure. "Most fascinating," Zextal murmured. "They seem to actively seek out challenges, even when unnecessary." First Officer Venra approached, holding a data tablet. "Commander, we've also detected something unusual in their orbital installations. Their space station. It's multinational." "Explain," Zextal commanded. "Nations that compete fiercely in other areas cooperate seamlessly in space. They share resources, knowledge, and crew members. Even nations with significant political tensions work together above their planet." The displays showed scenes from the International Space Station, astronauts from different countries sharing meals, conducting experiments together, helping each other with daily tasks. Even more surprising were the feeds from various mission control centers around the world, coordinating seamlessly despite their different languages and protocols. "Their approach to space exploration is inefficient by our standards," Venra continued, "but it seems to produce remarkable results. They've adapted to zero gravity in ways our scientists never considered. Their solutions are often unconventional, but effective." Zextal watched as human engineers used simple tools to solve complex problems in space. A water leak repaired with simple tape, a solar panel deployed using makeshift tools. Each solution was imperfect, yet somehow elegant in its simplicity. "Commander," a junior officer called out, "we're picking up transmissions from something called radio telescopes. Humans across their planet are working together to search for signs of extraterrestrial life." Zextal's scales shifted to a thoughtful blue. "They're looking for us, even as we watch them. Not just their governments or scientists. Their entire species seems curious about life beyond their world." The displays showed amateur astronomers sharing their observations, children drawing pictures of imagined alien worlds, scientists discussing the possibility of extraterrestrial life with excitement rather than fear. "Sir," Venra ventured, "by hegemony standards, their civilization is chaotic, inefficient, and technologically inconsistent. Yet they achieve results that match or exceed our own in certain areas," Zextal finished. "Because of their differences, not despite them." The commander moved to the center of the bridge, their bearings shifting from martial authority to scholarly interest. "Modify our observation protocols. I want to understand how they turn apparent weakness into strength, how they maintain individuality while achieving unity in space, and most importantly," they paused, watching a feed of young humans excitedly discussing their latest astronomical discoveries, I want to understand why they face the unknown not with fear, but with joy. As the crew scrambled to adjust their monitoring systems, Zextal reflected that perhaps they had found something far more valuable than another world to conquer. They had found a new way of seeing the universe itself. The observation probe gleamed silver against Earth's atmosphere as it began its descent. Commander Zextal had chosen their smallest, most advanced stealth unit for this test, a device that had successfully infiltrated 12 other civilizations undetected. They expected it would take humans days to notice, if they spotted it at all. It took 17 minutes. Commander, Kirix's scales flashed with excitement. A human child in a region called New Zealand has already posted images of our probe online. She was using something called a backyard telescope to search for comets. Zextal leaned forward, intrigued. Show me. The displays lit up with rapidly spreading discussions across human networks. Amateur astronomers shared photos, comparing notes and calculations. University students began running orbital projections. Within an hour, #unidentified space object was trending globally. Remarkable, Zextal murmured. No panic, no chaos. They're treating it like a puzzle to be solved. Sir, Venra reported, their major powers are mobilizing observation resources, but not in the way we expected. They're sharing data openly with civilian scientists. Their military units are on alert, but they're actually encouraging public participation in tracking the probe. The screen showed a fascinating cascade of human response. A group of radio enthusiasts in Argentina had already begun attempting to communicate with the probe. A teenager in Japan was running its observed flight path through a simulation program she'd written for a school project. A retired physics teacher in Kenya was hosting an impromptu online class about calculating orbital mechanics using the probe as a real-time example. This isn't standard protocol for any civilization we've encountered, Venra noted, their scales showing confusion patterns. They're treating a potential threat as a learning opportunity. Zextal watched as humans across the planet collaborated in real time. A grandmother in Russia noticed a pattern in the probe's movement and shared her observations with a university student in Brazil. A high school science club in India began building a makeshift radio telescope from satellite dish parts. A network of amateur astronomers coordinated their observations to maintain continuous tracking. Sir, a junior officer called out, we're detecting interference with the probe's sensors. Source, Zextal demanded. Multiple sources, Commander. It appears a 12-year-old girl and her grandfather in Argentina modified a microwave oven to create signal noise. They posted the instructions online, and now humans worldwide are replicating the experiment. The displays showed hundreds of makeshift devices being assembled in backyards and school labs. Each one was slightly different, adapted to local materials and conditions. Some didn't work at all, but humans shared their failures as eagerly as their successes, allowing others to learn and improve the design. Commander, Kirix interjected, you need to see this. Human scientists aren't just studying our probe. They're theorizing about the civilization that created it. And their guesses, some of them are surprisingly accurate. The screens filled with scientific papers being written and published in real time, theories being debated on academic forums, and simulation models being refined with each new observation. A collaborative network of professional and amateur scientists was rapidly building a surprisingly detailed picture of hegemony technology. They're reconstructing our technical capabilities from a single probe, Venra observed, their voice carrying unmistakable awe. Not through central coordination, but through thousands of independent observations and theories building on each other. Zextal stood silent, watching as humans turned what was meant to be a simple observation mission into a global citizen science project. In less than 6 hours, they had achieved what other civilizations couldn't manage in weeks of coordinated military effort. Recall the probe, Zextal finally ordered. Sir, Venra questioned. We haven't completed the standard observation protocol. We've seen enough, Zextal replied, their scales shifting to the deep green of profound realization. They've shown us something far more valuable than their defense capabilities. They've shown us how their minds work, not as a unified force, but as a million individual sparks igniting each other's creativity. As the probe retreated from Earth's atmosphere, Zextal noted that #SpaceVisitorComeback was now trending globally. The humans, it seemed, were already eager for their next encounter with the unknown. In the Eternal Dawn's private study chamber, Commander Zextal sat surrounded by floating holographic screens, each displaying different aspects of human entertainment media. After the probe incident, they had redirected significant computational resources to analyzing human fiction, particularly their stories about space and alien contact. Computer, categorize human space-related entertainment by type, Zextal commanded. The screens rearranged themselves, clustering into distinct groups: movies, books, games, television shows, and something humans called viral videos. A gentle chime announced Kirix's arrival. The science officer entered, carrying fresh data crystals. Commander, you requested an analysis of human fictional scenarios involving first contact. Indeed. Zextal gestured to the screens. Look at this. Humans have imagined thousands of different ways this moment could unfold. Some depict peaceful exchanges, others show conflict, but all of them share a fascinating common element: humanity persists. The displays showed clips from various human movies, scientists decoding alien messages, ordinary people rising to extraordinary challenges, communities coming together to face the unknown. Each story offered a different perspective, a unique approach to the same fundamental question: how would humanity handle contact with alien life? Most intriguing, Kirix observed, their scales shimming with analytical patterns. They appear to be rehearsing. Precisely. Zextal manipulated the controls, bringing up more examples. Through their entertainment, they've mentally explored countless scenarios. They've imagined being outmatched, outgunned, even nearly defeated. And in each story, they find unexpected solutions. A new alert flashed across the screens. First Officer Venra's voice came through the communication system. Commander, we're detecting unusual activity in human online communities following the probe incident. Display, Zextal ordered. The screen shifted to show human social media platforms exploding with creative responses to the probe's appearance. Artists were sharing illustrations of imagined alien civilizations. Writers were crafting stories about the probe's origins. Musicians were composing songs about the encounter. They're not just analyzing the probe scientifically, Kirix noted with surprise. They're incorporating it into their cultural expression. Zextal nodded, their head crest rippling with deep blues of contemplation. Humans process the unknown through creativity. Every challenge they face becomes part of their collective imagination, their shared story. The screens showed children building probe models from household items, amateur filmmakers creating special effects videos of imagined alien ships, and social media users sharing memes about potential alien visitors. Sir, Kirix ventured, I've been studying their historical entertainment as well. Even before they achieved spaceflight, they were imagining interstellar travel. Before they had computers, they wrote stories about artificial intelligence. They dream of things long before they can create them. And in doing so, Zextal finished, they prepare themselves for possibilities beyond their current capabilities. They brought up clips from early human science fiction alongside modern space achievements. The parallels were striking. Many real technologies seemed directly inspired by earlier fictional imaginings. A junior officer's voice interrupted. Commander, we're detecting a new trend in human online activity. They're organizing something called a global watch party, coordinating to simultaneously view their favorite stories about alien contact. The screens filled with scenes of humans gathering in homes, theaters, and public spaces around the world. They were sharing favorite movies, discussing possible first contact scenarios, and speculating about the probe's origins with an enthusiasm that bordered on celebration. Look at this, Zextal highlighted a particular feed. They're using our probe as inspiration for new stories, new ideas. They're not just observing us. They're imagining who we might be, what we might want, how they might connect with us. The commander stood, watching as humans across the planet transformed what should have been a moment of fear into an explosion of creativity and wonder. In all our conquests, they mused, we've never encountered a species that faced the unknown with such joy. Kirik studied the displays thoughtfully. Perhaps, Commander, that is their greatest strength. Not their technology or their sciences, but their ability to imagine, to dream, to transform fear into wonder. Yes, Zextal agreed, their scales shifting to colors of dawning realization. And I begin to suspect that this strength may be more formidable than any weapon in our arsenal. The Eternal Dawn's linguistics lab hummed with activity as Commander Zextal studied the swirling holographic display of Earth's languages. Each tongue was represented by a glowing strand, connecting and interweaving with others in complex patterns that resembled a living neural network. 7,117 distinct languages still in active use. Kirix reported, adjusting the display to highlight different language families. And each one contains unique concepts that don't perfectly translate into others. Zextal reached out, touching a particular intersection of language strands. The hologram expanded, showing a Japanese word, komorebi. The play of sunlight filtering through tree leaves, the computer translated. No direct equivalent in most other languages. Fascinating, Zextal murmured. Show me more. The display shifted, highlighting other unique concepts. Ubuntu from the Bantu languages. The belief that humanity is bound together in mutual caring. Hide from Danish. The cozy feeling of contentment in simple moments. Saudade from Portuguese. A deep emotional state of nostalgic longing. Commander, First Officer Venera called from their station. You should see this. We've detected something remarkable in their scientific communities. The main screen activated, showing the International Research Project. Scientists from different cultures were approaching the same problem. Sustainable fusion energy. From radically different perspectives shaped by their linguistic and cultural frameworks. The Chinese team is using concepts from traditional medicine about energy flow, Venera explained. The Indian researchers are applying mathematical principles from ancient Sanskrit texts. The Nigerian team is incorporating their traditional understanding of circular systems. And they're sharing these perspectives. Zextal asked, their scales shifting to patterns of intense interest. Not just sharing, Kirix interjected excitedly. They're blending them. Look at this breakthrough. It came from combining Chinese energy flow principles with Nigerian circular system dynamics and mathematical frameworks from India. No single approach would have found this solution. The commander watched as human researchers across the globe built upon each other's ideas, each cultural perspective adding new layers of understanding. Their differences weren't creating confusion, they were creating clarity. Sir, a junior officer reported, we've also detected interesting patterns in their response to environmental challenges. Different cultures are developing unique solutions based on their traditional knowledge. The displays showed examples. Inuit communities applying their deep understanding of ice and snow to create new types of weather-resistant structures. Bedouin solar power innovations inspired by ancient desert survival techniques. Pacific Islander navigation methods informing new approaches to ocean cleanup. Every culture adds its own piece to the puzzle, Zextal observed. But how do they maintain cohesion with such diversity? As if in answer, the screens filled with scenes from international scientific conferences, cultural festivals, and online collaboration platforms. Humans weren't just preserving their differences, they were actively seeking to learn from them. Look at their children, Kirix pointed out. The displays showed schools where young humans were learning multiple languages, exploring different cultural perspectives, and instinctively blending various worldviews to solve problems. They don't see diversity as a weakness to be eliminated, Zextal realized aloud. They see it as a toolkit for understanding reality itself. A new alert caught their attention. The screen shifted to show a recent breakthrough in quantum computing. The research team included members from 20 different nations, each bringing their culture's unique ways of conceptualizing time, space, and causality. "Commander," Venra said softly, "by hegemony standards, this level of linguistic and cultural variation should create insurmountable barriers to progress. But they're achieving things we never imagined, precisely because they think in ways we never considered." Zextal stood silent for a long moment, watching as human diversity continued spawning new ideas, new solutions, new ways of seeing the universe. Their scales shifted to the deep gold of profound understanding. "We've been wrong," they finally declared. "Unity doesn't come from enforcing sameness. True unity comes from harmonizing differences. These humans, they're not just preserving multiple perspectives. They're creating entirely new ones by combining them." As if to emphasize the point, the linguistics display pulsed with activity, showing new words being born from the intersection of cultures. Humanity's gift for turning diversity into discovery continuing to evolve even as they watched. "Commander," Kirix's voice carried an unusual tremor of emotion. "You need to see this." Zextal turned from their contemplation of Earth's swirling weather patterns to find the science officer's scales flickering with intense empathic resonance. The main display activated, showing a scene from a small coastal town in the Philippines. A storm was approaching, waves already battering the shoreline. But instead of fleeing inland, locals were forming human chains, reaching into the churning water to help fishing boats return safely to harbor. The fishermen weren't even from their town. They were from a rival village that often competed for the same fishing grounds. "This isn't an isolated incident," Kirix continued, bringing up more feeds. "We're detecting similar patterns worldwide." The screens filled with scenes of everyday heroism. A young student in Mexico staying late after school each day to help elderly neighbors learn to read. The businessman in Sweden opening his cafe to homeless individuals during a winter storm, serving free hot meals. A teenager in Kenya using her coding skills to create an app connecting surplus food from restaurants with local shelters. "Most fascinating," Zextal murmured. "These humans have no official directive to help each other. They act purely on individual initiative." First Officer Venra approached, their scales showing patterns of puzzlement. "Sir, we've analyzed their global communication networks. When disasters strike, their official response systems are often slow or inadequate. But look at this." The displays showed countless examples, ordinary citizens using social media to coordinate rescue efforts during floods, neighbors sharing resources during power outages, strangers driving hundreds of miles to deliver supplies to disaster-struck areas. "They call it mutual aid," Kirix explained. "Humans helping humans, not because they're ordered to, but because they choose to." A new alert drew their attention. The screen shifted to a small town in Brazil where a fire had broken out in an apartment building. Before official emergency services arrived, local residents had already formed a bucket brigade. Others were bringing blankets and first aid supplies. A local restaurant had opened its doors to displaced residents. "Look at their faces," Zextal observed. "No hesitation, no calculation of personal benefit. They simply act." "Commander," a junior officer called out, "we're detecting something unusual in their entertainment platforms. Humans are sharing these stories, but not just as news. They're using them as inspiration." The displays showed how tales of everyday heroism spread across human networks, inspiring others to similar acts of kindness. A child seeing a news story about food donations decided to start a garden to help feed neighbors. A retired engineer watching coverage of flood rescues began designing simple water filtration systems for emergency use. "It's a cascade effect," Venra noted. "Each act of kindness inspires more." Zextal watched as the pattern repeated across the globe. Humans facing challenges not with resignation or despair, but with immediate action and mutual support. Their scales shifted to deep purple, the color of fundamental reassessment. "We've been measuring their strength wrong," they declared. We looked for military might, technological advancement, unified government. But their true power lies in these moments, when ordinary humans choose to be extraordinary. The screens continued showing scenes. A teacher staying behind during an earthquake to ensure every student was safe. A nurse working double shifts during a health crisis. A child sharing their lunch with a hungry classmate. Small acts, multiplied millions of times across the planet. Sir, Kirix ventured, by hegemony standards, this level of individual initiative should create chaos. Their responses should be disorganized, ineffective. But somehow they're stronger for it, Zextal finished. Because every human knows they might need help someday. And every human knows they might be the one to provide it. They don't wait for orders or official sanction. They see a need, and they act. As if to emphasize the point, a new feed showed residents of a drought-stricken town teaching their water conservation techniques to neighboring communities, freely sharing knowledge that could have been kept as an advantage. This, Zextal said softly, their scales shifting to the gold of profound realization. This is what makes them truly formidable. Not their weapons or their technology, but their fundamental understanding that helping others helps everyone. The commander stood straighter, their decision crystallizing. A species capable of such consistent kindness, such reflexive cooperation, might have more to teach the hegemony than the hegemony had to teach them. The bridge of the eternal dawn fell silent as Commander Zextal stood before their assembled senior staff. Through the crystalline viewport behind them, Earth turned slowly, its night side glittering with city lights that rivaled the stars. I've called you here, Zextal began, their scales shifting through thoughtful patterns, because I'm about to break every protocol in hegemony history. First Officer Venra's scales flickered with concern. Commander, are you suggesting? I'm not suggesting, Zextal interrupted firmly. I'm announcing. We're going to contact Earth, not as conquerors, but as seekers of wisdom. The bridge erupted in murmurs. A junior officer's scales flashed alarmed patterns. Sir, the hegemony protocols clearly state. The hegemony, Zextal's voice carried quiet authority, has been wrong. For 10,000 cycles, we've conquered worlds to impose unity. But these humans, they gestured to the displays showing scenes of Earth life. They've shown us a better way. Science Officer Kirix stepped forward, their scales showing support patterns. The commander is right. Look at what we've learned. The main screen activated, showing a montage of their observations. Children from different cultures learning together. Scientists combining diverse perspectives to solve problems. Communities spontaneously organizing to help others in need. They're not perfect, Zextal continued. They argue, they compete, they make mistakes. But in those very imperfections lies their strength. Every challenge makes them more creative. Every setback sparks new solutions. Every difference adds another tool to their collective wisdom. The commander moved to the communication station, their decision radiating through their posture. Prepare a transmission, all Earth frequencies, all major languages. Sir, Venra cautioned, if we do this, the hegemony will respond. They'll send ships. They will, Zextal agreed. And when they do, they'll find not just our fleet defending Earth, but a species that has spent centuries imagining and preparing for this very moment. A species that turns diversity into strength, chaos into creativity, and strangers into allies. Their fingers moved across the holographic controls, composing the message that would change two civilizations forever. As they worked, the displays showed humanity's ongoing response to their probe. Children designing welcome messages, artists creating gifts for potential alien visitors, scientists preparing friendship protocols. Commander, a junior officer reported, we're detecting another trend in human communications. They're discussing how to welcome alien visitors, not just officially, but personally. Families are debating what foods to share, schools are preparing cultural presentations, communities are planning celebration events. Zextal's scales rippled with warm colors of appreciation. Even now, facing the unknown, their first instinct is to welcome, to share, to celebrate differences. Send the transmission. The message went out in waves, reaching every corner of Earth. People of Earth, I am Commander Zextal of the starship Eternal Dawn. We came to your world as potential conquerors, but we remain as hopeful students. Your species has shown us that true strength lies not in enforced uniformity, but in celebrated diversity, not in conquest, but in connection, not in power over others, but in lifting each other up. We offer our technology, our knowledge, and our friendship. In return, we ask to learn from you, to understand how you turn differences into discoveries, challenges into innovations, and strangers into friends. The hegemony, our governing body, will not understand this choice. They will send ships to force their version of unity upon your world, but we choose to stand with you, to defend the beautiful chaos of human creativity and compassion. We do not offer protection. You have proven you protect yourselves through cooperation and innovation. Instead, we offer partnership, a chance to show the galaxy that there is strength in diversity, power in kindness, and hope in reaching out to the unknown with open hearts and minds. The choice to accept or reject this offer is yours. We await your response, not as superiors, but as fellow travelers in the vast mystery of existence. As the message reached Earth's communications networks, Zextal watched the planet's night side grow brighter with each time zone receiving their words. They had just broken every rule in their civilization's history, and somehow it felt exactly right. 3 days after sending their message, Commander Zextal stood in a garden in New Zealand, their scales shimmering with wonder as they watched a monarch butterfly land on a nearby flower. The same 12-year-old girl who had first spotted their probe was explaining the butterfly's remarkable migration patterns, her excitement making her words tumble over each other. They navigate using Earth's magnetic field, she explained, and they somehow pass the knowledge down through generations. We still don't fully understand how they do it. Fascinating, Zextal replied, their translator converting their words into English. Your world is full of such mysteries. Around them, the first cultural exchange center was taking shape. What had begun as a simple landing site had transformed into something uniquely human, a combination of scientific facility, cultural center, and public park. Children played near advanced sensor arrays while scientists from every nation worked alongside Eternal Dawn crew members. Kirix approached, their scales showing patterns of pure joy. Commander, you need to see what the human engineers have done with our atmospheric processors. In the nearby laboratory, a team of Earth scientists had already modified the alien technology in ways the hegemony had never considered. By combining it with traditional wind-catching techniques from Persian architecture and principles of fluid dynamics observed in termite mounds, they'd improved its efficiency by 40%. It's not just the technology, Venra observed, watching humans and crew members working together. Look at how they're approaching everything. The displays showed similar scenes from exchange centers being established worldwide. In Brazil, local artists were helping crew members express themselves through dance and music. In Japan, engineers were combining alien materials science with origami principles to create new forms of solar collectors. In Kenya, traditional storytellers were helping the aliens understand human culture through narratives. They're teaching us as much as we're teaching them, Zextal noted, watching a group of children showing crew members how to play soccer. The aliens were awkward at first, but their laughter, a sound rarely heard in hegemony space, filled the air. A soft alert chimed from their communicator. Commander, a junior officer reported, we're detecting hegemony ships at the edge of the solar system. Estimated arrival time, 6 days. Rather than panic, the humans who overheard this news immediately began brainstorming. Within hours, social media was filled with ideas for defending Earth. Artists created morale-boosting posters. Engineers started adapting alien technology to enhance Earth's defenses. Children sent drawings of humans and aliens standing together against the hegemony. Look at this, Kirix called excitedly. On their screen, A grandmother in India had organized a massive effort to provide food for all the exchange centers, combining traditional recipes with alien nutritional requirements to create entirely new cuisines. They're not just preparing for battle, they're strengthening bonds. Zextal moved through the garden, watching as their crew members shed centuries of hegemony conditioning. One was learning to paint from a street artist. Another was teaching human children about stellar navigation, while they taught him to skip stones across a pond. A third was participating in an impromptu musical collaboration, their natural resonance frequencies blending with human instruments to create hauntingly beautiful harmonies. "Commander," Venera said softly, "even if the hegemony sends their entire fleet, I believe we made the right choice." Zextal watched as the setting sun painted the sky in colors that seemed to match their crew's newly expressive scales. The young girl who had first spotted their probe was now organizing a stargazing party, setting up telescopes for humans and aliens to share their different perspectives on the cosmos. "We didn't just make the right choice," Zextal replied, their scales shifting to deep gold, the color of absolute certainty. "We made the only choice that matters." The hegemony sought to impose unity through force. But true unity. They gestured to the scene around them. Humans and aliens sharing food, knowledge, art, and laughter. Children teaching games while learning about stars. Scientists and artists working together to create something entirely new. True unity, they concluded, comes from celebrating our differences, not erasing them. And when the hegemony arrives, they'll find something they've never encountered before. A civilization that grows stronger through diversity, finds power in kindness, and faces the unknown with joy. As if to emphasize their words, a group of children ran past, some human, some alien, all playing together in a game they had just invented. Above them, the first stars began to shine, not as distant challenges to be conquered, but as lights guiding two civilizations toward a brighter future together.